Hello, I'm Rex Childhouse, and because things on the internet seem to lose their date references pretty quickly, today is June 23rd, 2023, and this video has to do with our first long vacation since 1985. 1985, we came back from Japan. We'd had our third daughter, which would be our last daughter, and a number of friends and family had not seen us in a number of years, had not seen all or even any of our children. So from Northern Virginia to the Rocky Mountains, we drove and visited friends and family along the way. 1985 to 2023, career, family, jobs, money, weather, whatever, all got in the way, and my wife and I decided that we were going to celebrate our 51st wedding anniversary by taking a Disney Wonder Cruise from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska, and we were going to add a number of things along the way. This video is to address our tour of the Vancouver port and the city of Vancouver, which we did on May 20th and May 22nd. On May 22nd, we would embark on the Disney Wonder and Go. So we're going to show you some of the stuff of the Vancouver area. We'll have other videos to address specific places that we visited, like the zoo, the aviation museum, stuff like that. It was kind of fun. We enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun with it. There was one major distraction, and it had to do with a dental issue that I had due to, quite honestly, lack of competence of a dentist, of a dental facility. So let's get on with it and show you some of the fun places we saw and some of the things that we really enjoyed while in Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. We're coming up on the U.S.-Canadian border. We didn't know what to expect. This was one of the first shots we have. I'm not sure they're all in order, but we're at a point we can't turn around and go back. We're committed to crossing the border. It wasn't a problem. And here's the border crossing itself. I was kind of surprised we didn't have to quote-unquote check out of the U.S. We did have to check into Canada. They didn't stamp our passports. Don't know why. I assume they did record them. Joyce's joke was our border agent was Mr. Personality. Asked a couple of questions. The answers were no. Once you clear, we get this sign, "Welcome to British Columbia, Canada." Kind of cool. Really nice. That sign off to the left means that there's a speed bump or speed hump, if you're a U.S. Marine, that you're going to run into. And we were laughing. This is our Garmin GPS. It's telling us you're going the wrong way. We weren't going the wrong way, but we were kind of having fun with it. The area that you enter into is actually Surrey, British Columbia, and that's where our motel was going to be. We're at Motel 6 in Surrey, and we were the only people in the motel. We watched. There was nobody else there. Occasionally one or two other cars would be in the parking lot. They would normally be associated with the people running the place. And one morning we were getting ready to go somewhere, putting stuff in the car, and there was a sign on the door, "Sold out, no rooms available." We were the only people there. It was kind of fun. Speed limits are in kilometers, so we changed our 2022 Subaru Forester Sport to kilometers. Took a little bit of work, and we changed our Garmin GPS to kilometers so that we could actually figure out what was going on, get the distances right, whatever else. Not a big deal. It was just fun and interesting. Several bridges in the area. I like physical structures. I like how people do things, and this is one of several bridges we crossed over. Beautiful structure, very big and very long because it crosses this inlet. One of the first places we went to was Steamtown and Steamtown is right at where we would be boarding the Disney Wonder. And there is a steam-powered clock there. Joyce knew about it. I didn't. So we went down. This is the plaque on the steam-powered clock. This is some information on the steam-powered clock. It was put in after they had done some cleanup work on the area. Whatever. It was neat. It's running, and I'm going to let you listen to it. So that's what it does. The forks pick it up on the other side, but this one didn't get to a fork. Vancouver is a mix of old and new, and if you look at the building here on the right and the building in the center, there's probably 100 years of difference between their construction. We found this war memorial, and Joyce is standing in front of it to give it some scale. Really nicely done. There's 3 sides to it, and in detail, the first side says, "Their name liveth forevermore." Second side is it nothing to you, all ye that pass by?" Kind of emotional. I lost way too many of my guys during my Navy career, and this just brought back memories. This is one of the numerous streets. We're in Gastown, which is kind of old Vancouver, and it's a mix. Really nice area. We enjoyed walking around it. Trying to find parking was fun. This is another view of the contrast in the area. This building, I think, was 100 years old, and the building in the background is obviously a lot newer and totally new architecture type stuff. Another shot of the contrast. I assume that clock is probably 75 years old or older, and you can see that they have electric trolleys, electric buses running around. Kind of cool, kind of fun. It is a modern city. It's clean. It's very nice. We ate at Denny's, and we had a laugh because we were looking for a place to mail some postcards, and this is a Canadian post office, Canadian mailbox, which is kind of fun. But look at the Denny's sign. The apostrophe in Denny's, and all of the Denny's in Canada, is a maple leaf, which kind of made us laugh. This is just one of the generic streets that we were driving down and just took a photo of it. Lots of trees. The roads were really nice. The area was was really clean. We did have some fun in our little town in Ramona. We laughed that at 7 o'clock they roll up the sidewalks. In Canada, at 6 o'clock, it seems they roll up the grass. Just kind of having fun. This is a picture of the Port of Vancouver. It is absolutely huge. There's a lot of railroad tracks here, a lot of railroad cars. There's a lot of loading facilities for containers in the center of the picture there. The port is absolutely huge. There is beautiful signage around the Port of Vancouver, and this one, in my opinion, is the most important, and partly because I just happen to love Winnie the Pooh. And it talks about Harry Colburn An Army veterinarian headed the war on a troop train in 1914, and he bought a human-friendly bear cub for $20 and named her after his hometown, Winnipeg, and shortened it to Winnie, and took her to England, and she ended up in the London Zoo, where she was noted for her playfulness and her gentleness. And when the war ended, Harry decided to leave her there. Well, one of the fans, A.A. Milne's son, Christopher Robin, changed his own Teddy's name from Edward Bear to Winnie the Pooh, and Milne wrote stories about Winnie the Pooh. You just have to love it. I love it. Here's some other stuff, and I'm going to just kind of run through them so we don't get real long. But talks about the Silk Train, and you can stop the video and read the screens if you want. I'll give you the screens big time. This signage is bilingual, and normally it would have a picture on the left-hand side, English in the center, and French on the right. I'm going to cut the French out because I don't speak French, and I'm going to give you the text in the first video, in the first section, and then I'm going to give you the picture following, and you can pause it. And a lot of the signage just made you laugh. Some of it was relevant to other areas of Canada. I'm not going to show it all to you, but I'm going to have some fun with it. So this one here talks about an event with some cattle where the passage of the cattle didn't quite go the way it was, and it's phrased Great Escape. This next one, Stephen's Folly, is kind of interesting because the guy was actually foresighted and had the grain silos built, and then the economy and the war and whatever else came into effect and turned it into a folly, and then the economy and everything else turned around and turned it into a very successful venture. So maybe he was a couple of years too early, or maybe a couple of years too late, because maybe if he would have finished the job 5 years earlier, it would have been a successful venture from the get-go. How not to run a sawmill. They talk about South Vancouver and North Vancouver, and I'm going to phrase them that way. And South Vancouver was a pretty wet and loose town, and yeah, it was kind of fun. So this is a picture of the size of the trees they were cutting down. If you notice, these guys are holding axes, but there's also two-man saws sitting there. We would later tour a rainforest, and that'll be another video, and they were talking about this type of logging. Mr. Moody, who's Sue, got a hold of the sawmill on the north side of the inlet and said, hey, no drinking, no gambling, whatever, and he was very successful, so it was kind of fun. Vancouver in Ashes is kind of interesting because things just kind of happen. Started out as a brush fire and literally burned the town down, so ravaged Vancouver pretty significantly. And it's kind of interesting to hear the facts. Here's one that just makes you laugh. The sour toe cocktail. It talks about a guy who lost his toe due to frostbite. The toe ended up being a decoration in a bar and being one of those things like worms in the bottom of tequila bottles. You drink it down to the toe, but and a guy actually swallowed the toe, so kind of fun. And you just have to laugh. I joined the Navy partially to see the world, learn about the world, and there were a couple of different signs around the port that talked about the native people of the area, and this is one of them. It talks about their languages. Some of them talk about their languages. I didn't get good photos of all of them, which kind of disappoints me, but I got what I could. And we toured the waterfront on 2 different days. We toured it on Saturday and we toured it on Monday, and on Monday we were waiting to to embark on Disney Wonder. Another event that had a significant influence on Vancouver was a explosion at the pier. When they were loading this 10,000 ton displacement merchant freighter, they were loading things that probably shouldn't have been loaded together, probably weren't exercising all the safety rules and regs that would later come into play. They blew it up, did a fair amount of damage to the port. Always fun when you're doing stuff like that. Here's an interesting one, the Big Bang, the inland passageway, which we took for part of our journey when we left Vancouver initially on Monday, the 22nd of May, 2023. We initially went outside the inland passageway. I'm not sure why. The captain announced that they weren't following the expected or projected course. They were going to be outside the inland channel. But this talks about why the inland channel at one time was not used a whole lot and how they opened it up. They blew up the main obstruction with a lot of dynamite. Kind of fun. Here's some of the pictures associated with that. So you do what you have to do. Hell for the salmon. Railroad workers dynamiting rock along the canyon accidentally triggered a catastrophic slide which blocked Fraser River at Hell's Gate, one of the narrowest points. And just as the biggest salmon run's about to run, and it talks about the fact that the people of British Columbia are really sensitive about the salmon. It's let me tell you, you're Oregon and north, salmon's everywhere. We were impressed by the amount of salmon items that were running around. Timber is a big industry up in the Northwest. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, and I'm not sure who from or why or how, was if you're with a logging truck and you're coming up on a curve, you don't stay next to the logging truck just in case it flips over. And they do flip over. We saw one of them off on the side flipped over while we were up there. This here talks about the fallers and has some good pictures of these trees that are on these trucks, and there's some YouTube videos about how these guys carry these trees, which is kind of cool. Big stinking trees, let me tell you. High riggers, the guys who climb to the very top, take what's called the crown out of the tree. As they go up, they trim the branches so that you have a nice straight timber as you come down. Really interesting profession. Don't want to do it. Probably would have in some other time. And when you do cut it and it falls, you better be attached to the tree trunk because it's going to sway big time. Kind of fun. Here is a ferry that's proceeding from the North Vancouver to the South Vancouver, and it's carrying cars. Depending on the ferries that I know, when you get your vehicle on a ferry, they measure its length and you pay by the inch. Kind of cool. This particular little paddle wheeler is a tourist boat. It doesn't carry people on business, that are going from their home to their office, whatever. It's a tourist boat, but it's kind of cool. And I happen to love airplanes, and Harbor Air has a number of seaplanes based here. They were taking off, landing all the time.
I happen to love the de Havillands, the DHCs, which are de Havilland Otters Canada. Here's a couple of beavers and most of these airplanes had turbines. These two in particular had their radials on them, and I love round engines. If you can't run a radial, you don't know what's up. One of the laughs we had was we tried to replenish our cooler while we were up there, visited some of the grocery stores, and these were the bottles we found. We didn't find what we expected. We didn't find 16.9, 20 ounce, 12 ounce, 2 liter bottles. We found these. They're 250 milliliter little bottles, and they were all over the place. And Canada is bilingual because of Quebec. Evidently, recycle is recycle in both English and French, because it says recycle me and recycle moi. Thank you very much, Miss Piggy, for teaching me French. So we hadn't planned it, but it worked out that way. We had to buy gas while we were up there. They sell gas by the Canadian dollar, and the exchange rate was $1 US is $1.39 Canadian. That's the exchange rate we got, and works out that when a liter of fuel, they sell gas by the liter, is $1.969. It works out to be about $5.40 a gallon, so that wasn't too bad. We had no problems with it was fun. Put it on our credit card. We really enjoyed being up in Vancouver, Surrey, British Columbia. It was clean, it was nice, the weather was great, we had a lot of things to see, and we really enjoyed it. It was a great way to spend the time before we embarked on the Disney Wonder for the rest of the cruise. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. There'll be more coming up.